If you realize your association is stuck in reserves quicksand, how do you get out? Just like with real quicksand, you need to act cool and collected. Getting help is your first step. Management and board consultant John Cligny and I talk about what getting help looks like. Reach out for help from an experienced manager or reserve studies professional. Not only is it a good idea, it's your responsibility as a board member. Looking at your reserve study helps you learn how to get out of trouble. Getting out probably means adjusting your budget and making those recommended reserve contributions. But again, just like real quicksand, don't try to do it all at once. Slow and smooth is actually best practice in most cases.
So this is real interesting. And I think that the first and foremost things that boards need to manage is they need to manage their own expectations of themselves and their own knowledge and their own skills. They need to remember that they're volunteers, that they have duties and responsibilities to their members and their associations, and they need to get help. Reserve planning is complicated, and it takes an experienced manager. It takes credentialed reserve study professionals, maybe CPAs or others, to help get through the process. So it's very important that we ask for help. So as we're getting out of quicksand, we do need to be thinking about the sound business judgment rule. And there are a couple things that are going to drive you as a board. And one of those things should be this concept of sound business judgment. And sound business judgment is your protection as a board member. And it will lead you down the path of your fiduciary responsibilities of duty of care, duty of loyalty, and duty of inquiry. And we can take a look at that first duty in the sound business judgment rule, or the second one we've got circled on this particular side, which is our duty of loyalty. And we need to be mindful of the fact that our loyalty is to all of our current members and all future members. We have this duty that spans time, especially when it comes to reserve components, because reserve components are linked to time, and they're linked to decay, and they're linked to maintenance. And so this overwhelming sense of loyalty that is part of your fiduciary responsibility will drive you to get out of quicksand. Robert, take us through some of the more strategic parts of this.
Yes, John, as I was listening to you, I realized these are so intrinsically intertwined. First, you have to care about what's going on at the property. You have to be loyal to the needs of the property. And you have that duty of inquiry, like you said earlier, what do I do? How do I get help? Where do I get help? And I think I said it just a couple of moments ago in answer to one of your questions. Reach out to your reserve study provider. So all those three are intertwined, but I want to show a couple of slides that show how you can learn how to get out of quicksand. In your reserve study, you're probably going to get a 30-year expense chart that looks something like this. And you learn from it. You learn what your path to the future looks like. Look at this association. Clearly, they have a big obstacle in, this is a 30-year plan, so about 10 years away. Or we can look at another association's plan, and they have a big obstacle in a couple of years. There's scattered expenses through the years, but a big project in just 2 years. So this board needs to be really gearing up for this big project next year. Or it could be this association where they have periodic big projects scattered all through the years. The key here is that they've got a big year. Take a breath, get ready for another big expense year. And you see that these are almost back to back. And so you need to have the reserve set aside in order to overcome these obstacles and get through these projects and have those reserves set aside so you'll be able to accomplish them on time. Or it could be an association like this with nominal projects through the years, and then one big one. You don't want to get too complacent. A real big one about 30 years away. So every association's expense profile is going to be different. We call it their expense fingerprint, and it helps you to know what the road to the future looks like. It'll help you in your decision points when you are wondering, okay, what do I do now? And I like this picture again with the Wizard of Oz theme. Dorothy's confronted with a choice. Do I go left? Do I go right? And she's got someone you can see on screen helping to point the path to the future.
So moving on to the sound business judgment rule and what we've been talking in terms of fiduciary duty and responsibility to your associations as board members is the duty of care. And the duty of care overwhelmingly has to do with not only the physical attributes of your association, those common area components that are under your care, but has to really do with all of the compliance mechanism that goes into your managing the affairs of your association. Depending on what state you're from, you're going to have different kinds of requirements, different kinds of things that you must do or that the law compels you to do. And those all go into the duty of care. And that duty of care then will extend directly to how you budget, which is really the focus of our next slide. As we move into making adjustments to contributions based on sound business judgment, based on care, based on loyalty, based on that duty of inquiry. And these are really important. Things change. We need to be caring enough about our associations that we are led by our own duty of inquiry to make sure that we're making the adjustments we should. If you've been making a $100 a month contribution to reserves the last 10 years and you've never changed it, you could probably reasonably assume that you're going to be behind the 8 ball. So budgeting is very important. Understanding how useful lives change, how remaining lives change, how current condition of your components change is all different ways that you can bring experts' opinions to bear on the decisions that you're making. And that's very, very important. So Robert, tell us a little bit more about getting out of quicksand.
Yeah, I want to go on your theme of making adjustments. We find a lot of associations that when they look around, they realize their reserves are not in a strong position. They are in a weak position with respect to reserves. And I want to counsel you and comfort you that you don't have to get out of quicksand instantly. It doesn't have to be done all at once. Slow and smooth is generally recommended to gradually take the association, turn it around. It almost might be compared to a supertanker out in the middle of the ocean. If it's going one direction, it may take a while to turn that thing around. And often the weakly funded associations realize they got there from years or decades of a sequence of maybe poor choices or very optimistic choices. So it doesn't have to be done all at once. It is a very doable project to transition your association gradually and smoothly, but proactively, from one that doesn't have sufficient funds to take care of their projects to one that does. At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.